So we started sort of talking about technological innovation and the effect on households and firms' money demand, really demand for cash. So every time that we give a talk, so people sort of, it looks like it's such an, démodé type of topic to talk about money since there's no more cash. And there's all these models that are called like cashless models because sort of cash has disappeared. There are a lot of obituaries about that. This is the one that we like from the Economist magazine. You probably can't see it, but it's just made out of coins. And the dinosaur, I guess, refers to the fact that it's not being used anymore. But of course, if you have to look at something like cash, really coins and bills in the US relative to GDP, you will get a number like 12%. Now, the main reaction that people will tell you with that is that, well, all this money is in Russia, in Argentina. Okay, so maybe so. Suppose you were to take all the cash in the world, meaning you take all the dollars, then you take all the Argentinian pesos times the exchange rate, plus all the rubles times the exchange rate, plus the euros, so on and so forth. And then you divide by the GDP of the whole world. The idea being that if all this money is in Russia and Argentina, well, they must be displacing the Argentinians and Russian cash. And if the money is disappearing, but we don't see that at all in the US, it must be that somehow globally we should be seeing cash going down to zero relative to GDP. Because, as we all know, money is disappearing. We're getting to this cashless society. So let me show you some figures. This is all tangential to my talk, but I also get a kick out of it. So this is sort of the time series that you get from 54 to 2006 for the world currency to GDP. It's kind of like 6%. And no clear signs of disappearing. And the ups and downs are mostly in the construction of this number that come from exchange rates. The big countries that have a lot of currency are countries that are rich and they are large. Like Switzerland is rich, but I think they're large. But so the US, Germany, well now it's in the Euro area, but Japan, which is also very cash intensive. And then, when there's some exchange rate movement, that accounts for a little bit of the variability of this.
What are these three lines? One is which country?
Different countries, just to point out. But again, in these countries which are kind of like relatively poor countries, the problem is that we don't know how to sort of assign the cash that is the dollars. Where are they residing? So this is sort of, you don't know why this is different because of the use of cash or because they're using cereals. But it's just to give you an idea of what you see, and this is basically comprising around 98% of the world GDP. So it's not quite disappearing cash, but to us, by any stretch of imagination.
Why do you think it's increasing there?
Huh?
So why do you think it's increasing?
Don't really know. I don't even know really how sure to be where it's increasing. But I don't really know.
It makes sense that it's not going to fall to zero, but it's strange that you wouldn't see separated.
Yeah, that's why I put this picture.
Yeah.
That you don't see any negative trend. I don't know how to make about these changes though. The whole point is that I bet I should have done it. I bet if I ask everybody of you, first of all, whether cash is coming down, I get like 98% of the people telling me, of course it's coming down. But it's not. That's the point of this picture. So this is just more like a rhetorical point. Because we're going to be using data from here.
So do you have any idea in the cross-section? What's the correlation between your kind of like cash measure and, I don't know, things that people associate with like informality of the economy?
Yeah, but the whole point of that picture across countries is that we don't know where the cash is. So that's why I don't want to get into that. Because I bet that there's a lot of informality in Argentina and in Russia, but the cash is going to show up. The cash is going to show up as dollars. So how do I do the correlation? So, plus we have to distinguish. So I'll get to be more precise because I'm going to use data from Italy, which we could look at these sort of things. So we're going to be looking at data from Italy in this paper. And Italy is not that strange. There may be that people think, well, Italians, who knows, these guys are not that worthy or something. But it's pretty much in 6% of GDP like in the rest of the world. And their currency is not used anywhere else. Perhaps a little bit in what it used to be Yugoslavia, but really not an issue. It's mostly used only in Italy.
It's euros.
Huh?
It's euros.
Well, now it's euros, but we're going to use data that precedes that. So Italy is really not an outlier. That's what I meant to say. And cash is still intensively used in Italy. Italy is relatively backwards if you think about the level of development in terms of their bancarization. So just to give you an idea how much cash is used, although, so what is here? So each row here, it's where is this data coming from? This is something like the PSID and the CPS in Italy is run by the Bank of Italy from historical reasons. And so they get to put questions on stuff that people in the bank are interested in. So there's a bunch of questions about cash management. So think of this as a survey, not probably of the same size as the CPS, sort of more like a PSID, but there's basically, it has an aspect of a rotating panel. It's a survey of households. So maybe like 8,000 families or so. And then among the questions that they are asked is how much what are your purchases paid in cash? So then imagine sort of like taking the households and then stratifying them on where they have demand deposits, and then there's the ones that do not have demand deposits. And the reason why we are concentrating on demand deposits is because we're thinking of theories of money demand, in which you're going to be sort of on the margin between earning interest and not. So if you don't have a demand deposit, that's just going to be a more issue. So they would, okay. And then some of them also have ATM cards, and some of them also have credit cards, which is not going to be okay. So the ones that are excluded here are the 15% more or less of households that do not have demand deposits. And by the way, demand deposits in Italy pay interest. I mean, I guess in most countries demand deposits do pay interest, but we are used to the US where the legacy of the regulation Q, demand deposits pay like almost no interest. But in Italy, demand deposits, they have been more of restrictions than our type of checking deposits, but they pay interest. So this is just to put it in perspective why we are certifying the data this way.
So a demand deposit checking account.
Checking accounts, essentially. And but anyway, so that's a universe. So these are three different slices of that universe. And the numbers in parentheses there are the fraction of the total consumption that is paid. Non-durable expenditures that is paid with cash. So if you look at the top row, these numbers like about between 70 and 66%. That means that from all the purchases, they're paying, say something like 70, less than 70%, but more than 1/3, they're paying with cash. So cash is used extensively in Italy. When you think about, okay, so that's kind of a number I want to give you here.